nearly 3,000 years ago.
My journey with God has always been a pleasant thing. Knowing the Lord from as small as growing up around 2, 3 years old. My mother took us to church with the inland church. There was always the issue about Jesus, about the land of Israel and everything. And I've always had the passion to one day interact with this nation Israel and be able to experience the things that Jesus had set in place over the years. So in that dream, I came to know the Lord Christ pretty close to about almost 30 or more years ago. And as I walked with the Lord in my relationship with Him, there was always a desire that one day I would go to Israel. And I look forward to it. I dream about that day. And then by the grace of God, around 2016, my spiritual father, the Reverend Dr. Francis Westablat, with the African Christian United for Israel, provided that opportunity. They were far before the time I've expected, because I looked for it in a much longer time in the future, but it came as a blessing at a given time. And during the period, I had to worked on that. I had a short time to prepare myself, because it was sometime in October when I had an offer, and then later I had to be through with the whole process by latest November, December. But the Lord worked out the miracle. Today you know that God makes all things beautiful in His time. And so God worked it out that I was able to get all this thing achieved. And so the whole process of going to Israel started. At the beginning of the dream, I got my visa, and then it was time to go. And it was a journey of a lifetime. Something I thought about, I have prayed for, I have looked forward to, was finally in fulfillment. And we started off, and my trip I had to go through Ethiopia. So I flew to Ghana, from Ghana on to Ethiopia, and then went on to Israel, arriving at Tel Aviv around roughly about 4 a.m. in the morning. It was an exciting time. And the Lord worked a parcel. From there we drove to Netanya, our hotel, and I still remember the hotel I lodged in was the King Solomon Hotel. It was so exciting. And then from the hotel in Netanya, King Solomon Hotel, I looked over from my window, and then I saw the Mediterranean Sea. We already read about the Mediterranean Sea, we talked about it, but then I was seeing it firsthand. And then I came down from my hotel, and then we walked down, and I walked to the Mediterranean, and then I washed my feet, on the seashore of the Mediterranean. And then we got back to the hotel, because we had arrived earlier before the other team. And then the team arrived, and then we had to take off, and then the journey of Israel started. And then we left Netanya that morning, and then we drove to Caesarea Philippi, where Herod had built this great Colosseum, and where people would go and have all these great occasions. And we saw the working of King Herod, Herod the Great. The reason why Herod is called the Great is because there were things he did that was unimaginable. His architecture and just everything else, the experience and everything. And then from there we drove from Caesarea Philippi, and then we went on to Mount Carmel, where Elijah called down fire. And here was I, at Mount Carmel, Apostle Kollie at Mount Carmel. It was a great experience, at Mount Carmel. And then from Mount Carmel, we went on to Nazareth, and we came to the birthplace of Jesus Christ. We came to where Jesus had lived and grew up, because when he returned from Egypt, they went to Nazareth. So Jesus went to the Mount of Precipice, where Jesus was almost thrown down the cliff, and then we went to we went to the Mount of the Ascension, and all the where they had different churches built and everything. And we had a great tour of Nazareth. And then from Nazareth we went on to Cana, where Jesus, I tell you, the water in the wine. We visited the place is there where like the wedding feast took place. We did a tour of that particular place, and then from Cana, then we went on to Tiberias. That was the end of our first tour for the day, and we ended at Tiberias. And in Tiberias we lodged at the hotel, a wonderful hotel there in Tiberias, and that's where we stayed for 3 days. Now in Tiberias is when our real journey started. Maria journey started in Tiberias, and it was an awesome journey. It was an awesome journey. In the morning, Tiberias, the first place we visited was the Mount of the Beatitudes. Where Jesus has said, blessed are this, blessed are thou, and blessed are thou, and blessed are thou, and blessed are thou. Jesus, we visited the Mount of the Beatitudes. I can tell anybody that morning at the Mount of the Beatitudes, when we got there and we were having the prayer time, there was a great move of God. There was an outpouring of God's anointing, God's power. I mean, it was even the other visitors from other nations, because Israel is a place where you have people from different nations come in from time to time. So at the time you are visiting, other people are also visiting, and so the other tours were like looking at us. And I know some of the reason why I'm sure they were looking, because some of us who went, we did not just go for sightseeing. That's why you heard me say in the beginning, we will see it was, and I said, going to Israel is more than just a sightseeing. It was an encounter, because it's like, this is something you have read about. This is something you are imagined. This is something you have thought about, and then at this point in time, it's no longer just imagination. It's a reality. You are in the very place. You are interacting with the very things. And so it was an awesome time. We had a great prayer. We had a time of reading of the scripture. Our tour, Brother Ares, he's just a gift. This young man is a Jewish man, but he's so versed in the literatures of the Bible and at the same time Jewish literature, and he would take it across. I mean, he will almost pull out the information to you. I have to say he's a biblical scholar, and it brings the Bible alive to you. And so from the Mount of the Beatitudes, then we had to go to the Golden Height. The Golden Height is where you have Muhammad. When you read the Bible says in Psalm 133, it says, "Behold, how good, how pleasant it is for burdens to dwell together in unity." It's like the pressure oil that came upon one the head of something, ran down to the beard, to the skull. And I say it was upon like the dew of Mount Hermon. Muhammad, when you go into the Golden Height, you see Muhammad in the background. All year round, it has snow at the top of it. It has a snow top, and because that's where the water and everything Israel enjoys flows from. The ice melts and comes down. So we went to the Golden Heights. We visited on our way to the Golden Heights. We passed Philippi, and then we went on to the Golden Heights. We were to go through Tardan and different places around the Golden Heights. We interacted. You're going to see the pictures in the video going on the Golden Heights, and then from the Golden Heights we came back, and then from we came back, then we went to the Sea of Galilee, like Galilee. You can imagine on the lake, Galilee, on that lake, we had a boat ride on the lake, and eventually a powerful worship time, which you will see in the video later on. A powerful worship time on the lake, and it was an awesome experience, a first-hand experience, the presence of God. I don't know about others, but I can tell you that everywhere we went, the glory of God was just so evident, was just so strong, in our midst. And then from the Lake Galilee, we came back, and then we stopped at there's an entrance place before you get to the Lake of Galilee, and we're able to see this early central boat that had been kept for the years. The boats probably, it's assumed that these boats were one of them that probably the disciples of other used, because it was found in the bed of the Sea of Galilee, and it was taken out and excavated and properly put together. So today it's in a museum there, and we will have a great experience. And then we went back to our hotel, and then the second day we had to take over, and then we started our tour that morning at Takba, not Takba, at Magdala. Magdala is the city where Mary Magdalene was from, So most of when you hear Mary Magdalene, you think it's her last name. It's not her last name. It was the city she was from. She was from Magdala. And Magdala, so called the Mary Magdalene. I mean, the Mary from Magdala. It was a fishing district, and it was a city right on the outskirts of the Lake of Galilee. And after that, we got through with some Takba. Then we went on to Magdala, went to Takba. Takba is where it is assumed that Jesus last days, he interacted after he resurrected, when he talked to Peter, and when he told Peter lovest thou me, where he did it. It's just on the edge of the Lake of Galilee, right at the edge there, and he's the Sea of Galilee, and they're at the edge there, and there's a Catholic church there. It's in the monument, and that's where. So we visited from Takba. Takba, there is assumed this healing It's where you have both hot water and cold water coming from under the ground. There are a lot of strange in Israel. And then from Taba, we went on to Capernaum, where Jesus, there are a lot of miracles, And then in Capernaum, it's assumed there's a place where you see where you look at Peter's own house, where you see Peter's house. We saw some other synagogues at that time, and then there's a statue there and everything else. So we interacted with that, and then after that we drove back and came and went to the Jordan, where we had our time of a baptism, did a baptism in the Jordan. And that was the close of our day, and then we went back to the hotel. And then on the third day, we were like heading now for Jerusalem. So all our tour was along the Jerusalem route. So on the third day, we left, and then we stopped to the Sea of Galilee, but on the other side, what we call the Lake of Gennesaret, and where is assumed that the guy who Jesus cast the demons out of something, and then the demons ran down into the lake. All right, we stopped there. We saw that, we had an experience, and then from there we drove down to Jericho. Where what is it, Zacchaeus, climbed on the sycamore tree. So we went there, and we were able to, from Zacchaeus to there, we were able to see the Mount of Temptation, and we were able to interface with a lot of stuff from the lake of from Jericho. We had lunch at Jericho. It was an awesome time, Had a wonderful lunch. It was so great. And then from there on our way, we stopped at the sycamore tree, and then we bought the sycamore fruit. The sycamore fruit is a fruit, so we bought the sycamore fruit and had the sycamore tree. And we went to go close to the tree, but then right within that time, the Palestinians were having some challenges, and then so we had to drive over our bus, and we left, and then we drove onwards, and then headed for Jerusalem. And that evening, we arrived to Jerusalem. You don't go to Jerusalem, you are sent to Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is up in the hills. So we had to go up. It's called Aliyah. We did our Aliyah. Aliyah is going up. You go up. You don't go to Jerusalem, you go up to Jerusalem. You are sent to Jerusalem, because Jerusalem is in the mountains. So we did our Aliyah, and we arrived at Jerusalem that night, and we had to go to our hotel, which is Park Hotel, very, very 5-star hotel. That's where we lodged. Being in the city of Jerusalem was an awesome experience, and that was the beginning of another pretty close to almost 7 days, journey of interacting with different places and different things, as we went. And so the next morning from Jerusalem, we left, and then we had to go to Masada. Masada is the fortress. It's where King Herod had his fortress. His stronghold, his military might, and everything else. Everything was built in is in on the mountains, in the desert, in the Judean desert. It's called Masada, and there you see the fortress, the remains of the fortress of King Herod. Everything he built, it had to do with his army, it had to do with his bunkers, it had to do with his palace, it had to do with every different thing. The Roman legion and legion that was assigned to him, the different areas where they stayed. You see elegance, you see his storehouse, and just everything in Masada. It's just an awesome. Tell you that being called Herod the Great is no joke. Indeed, Herod was Herod the Great. Eventually, the thing he imagined, the things he did was so awesome, and no matter what they call him the Great, his being called the Great was really something. It was a great and a wonderful experience. Then from Masada, after Masada, then we came down to the Dead Sea, and we had to take bath in the Dead Sea. There's something about the Dead Sea. Nothing is dead, so nothing stays in the Dead Sea. Even you don't stay in the Dead Sea. But you lie on the Dead Sea, you cannot go on it. You can sing in the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea have so many minerals in it that when you lay on the Dead Sea, you float. You float. You float on say. So I had to, and then moreover, it is also believed that when you take bath with that water, if there's anything on your skin, eventually the sea gets rid of it. And there's a lot of body lotion and body things that come from Israel today, and many of them have minerals that come from the Dead Sea. Things that for skin cleaning, for dealing with certain issues on your body. And so we have some. Now we have to take fresh, organic, what the mud. It was an exciting time. We had some of our mom, fill out their whole plastic bag. They almost want to bring a bag of mud, to for the tour. It was an awesome time. And the Dead Sea. Then we had to go to Engedi. Engedi is where David hid. When David was being pursued by Saul, he had to go and hide. One of the places he hid was in Engedi. We went to En-Gedi. En-Gedi was where Jesus and Saul has entered the cave, and David went into the very cave. They were in the back of the cave, and he go excrete him. And then David looked at him, and David could not touch him because of some. So we went to En-Gedi, and it was an awesome experience at En-Gedi. There's an oasis at En-Gedi. I mean, you have a waterfall and everything in that oasis at En-Gedi. It's just a remain and a great and awesome place. And then from En-Gedi we came back, and then we went back to Jerusalem, and that was the close of our day. And then the next day we began the tour of the city of Jerusalem, and then our tour started that morning with we started out at right around the graveyard in Jerusalem, the Jewish graveyard. We got right across the Jewish graveyard, across towards the Dome of Rock. You have the Muslim graveyard on that side, and then from the Jewish graveyard we walked down, and then we were able to go to Mount Olive, and I tell you, it was on a Sunday morning. Sorry, I'm covered up. At Mount Olive, I can tell you, it was an awesome experience. And I have been spending some time with the Lord just in that period. And when we got to Mount Olive, my spiritual father had told me that the night before, he said, "You are ministering at Mount Olive tomorrow." So I'm like, God, this is where Jesus prayed. This is where Jesus spent most of his time, cultivating grace. Lord, I'm wishing stirring tomorrow. I'm trusting you. I want to have an experience at Mount Olive tomorrow. And listen to me, God answered my prayers. Can you imagine? Listen to me. That's why I tell people, I say, going to Israel should not just be sightseeing. You must have a desire for an encounter, because if you have a desire for an encounter, you're going to encounter God. Because Jesus, listen to me, this is where Jesus walked. This is where he lived. This is where he did ministry. And listen to me, the things are there. I'm not to worship them, but as you roll them back in your mind, as you think about it, you can have an experience. Every experience with God is based on the experience of other people. Today we are doing great in ministry because there are those who came before us. There's a way to walk with God. There are experiences they had, and there are things they have told us, and we have a desire to have those experiences. And I'll tell you, when that morning, and after we didn't have no instrument, we didn't have nothing. All we did was have a mouth to sing and had a Bible to read. And guess what? When we got to singing, and when I decided to stand and minister, in less than 10 minutes, the glory of God exploded in that place. The power of God fell. I preached less than 15 minutes message, and less than 15 minutes the presence of God came down. People were ministered to. The glory of God was revealed. There was an awesome outpouring of God's presence at Mount Olive, and God truly fulfilled his word. God truly fulfilled his word. God truly proved himself. God truly showed up at Mount Olive. And then after we had our experience at Mount Olive, then we had to move down across from Mount Olive. We went down and they had to move towards the old city that has to do with going to the temple. So from Mount Olive we were to move on, and then we went to into the old city. And visiting the old city, we had to go and interface with the rabbi, where the Temple Institute. We had to go to the Temple Institute, where they are gathering all the materials for the rebuilding of the new temple. Israel believes that they are supposed to rebuild this new temple, and so they are gathering everything for that rebuilding. And during the tour of the Temple Institute, they took us to a tour of almost everything that had been the reactivating of the temple. And then we saw the menorah. The menorah is what is representation, the candlestand, and that's a symbol of Israel. Everything in there that we had a little interaction there, a showing of the experience of everything that's been done, the preparation, whatever it is. And they're waiting faith and believe God. And then from there we had to go to the Wailing Wall. The Wailing Wall. The Wailing Wall is where the Jews go to pray. The Jews cannot go into the temple area right now, because where the temple is occupied by the Dome of Rock. So there's a wall that is attached to that particular direction. So from day to day, the Jewish would go there, and that's where they go and pray and get one. So we went to the Wailing Wall, and we had a time of going wall. There are photos to show that. So you will see me at the Wailing Wall, and we're praying and everything else, And so we had interaction, just have an experience, And then from the Wailing Wall, we had to go to the city of David, Zion. The city of David. I'm going to let you know right now, they are still excavating in the city of David. And the more they excavate, the more they dig, the more they are finding more and more facts that these are realities. There are people who existed here years ago. There were kingdoms established here. They are being able to find different religions and different materials that shows that indeed, truly there was a king there are kingdoms that existed here, Jewish people that existed here, and I know this argument about people wandering and occupying everything, and the politics will play. But don't forget that indeed, when it comes to truth crushed to the ground will rise again. You cannot interfere. You cannot block out truth. When God spoke to Abraham, He told Abraham, He said, "I will give this to you as a covenant to you and your generation after you." See, it's going to be an everlasting covenant. You see, and if that doesn't happen, the reality is that if that thing doesn't happen, you have to understand that it means that God is a liar, and God cannot be a liar. If He told Abraham that indeed it's going to be a covenant forever, that covenant stands forever. There's nothing that can change it. And so people may fight, they will play the politics, but you know the thing I know about God is that He said, let every man be a liar and let God alone be true. So God is going to be true at the end of the day, and that's why I know sometimes as Christians we want to follow how fair it is, how this it is, and that it is. But listen to me, you can't tell me that you are wiser than God. God, who created the universe, who created this earth and the entire universe, knows exactly what He put in place. When He made statement, He knew exactly what He was saying, and God will remain committed to His word. You can imagine, how do you explain, a group of people without a language, without a nation, scattered about the word, and God, and there was prophecies reading that indeed I will spare you to the ends of the earth, but then I will bring you back here again, And then they were scattered. They didn't have a nation. All of it did in history. The spreading of the Jews is called diaspora, and the gathering is called Zion. It's called Zionism. So people argue about it, but these are the realities. That God said He would do it. He said, "I will gather you from the ends of the earth." And true. And that's why many people who argue with the Bible is something like 25% prophecy, and almost everything about those prophecies have been, all the prophecies have been fulfilled. Only a few are left to be fulfilled. So He said He will gather them, and He's gathering them from every nation. They are coming from everywhere. 70 years ago they were nothing. Today they are a great state that have existed for more than 70 years. So you can imagine. So I believe where we are, I know your men will always fight, they will always be rational, they will always want to push God aside and believe that indeed they can have their own mindset, try to rationalize. There are some things about God that just cannot be rationalized. I don't want to go too much into that. So we had a great tour of the city of David, and at the end of the tour of the city of David, we had to go down to the pool of Salem, and it was a great experience. The pool of Salem, where the guy had to go and where the leper man had to go and take bath, and then come back cleansed, and then Jesus, said, "Okay, go and show yourself to the priest." And when He did that, we went to the pool of Salem, and when we left the pool of Salem, we met a group of Israeli soldiers, and it was at that time, we had some photos. It was a time of celebration. They were so excited to interface, or we were excited to meet them, and we took some photos. So you're going to see all of that in the photos. And then from the pool of Salem, we were able to go back home and rest for the day. Then the next morning began another journey. This morning started around the temple area, but this time we went towards the grave of the King David. We went to the upper room, where the Holy Ghost came down. I tell you something funny happened in the upper room. When we got there, just as we got in the upper room, we began to pray. Oh God, the presence of God came out. As the presence of God came out, as the presence of God came to the Jewish people, eventually, they came to us, and they started to tell us, "You can pray here, you can pray here." And then little got to know that there was a synagogue under us, And I think there's this thing that indeed you cannot have a church over a synagogue, So we had to stop praying, and we had to, continue with our tour. We came down and went down to the synagogue. There was a synagogue there. We went to the synagogue. You don't interaction. So we did some interface in there at the synagogue, and then came out. Then we went back into the old city. But this time we went to the pool of Bethesda. The pool of Bethesda, where that guy was lying for 38 years. We went to the pool of Bethesda, and then it's still there. The remains is there. The water is in there, but the remains are there. The pool of Bethesda. From the pool of Bethesda, there's a church there. We went to the church and we did some praying, and then we did a tour of the old city. Went down to the old city and did a complete tour of the old city, a place. And then there's a back way to get around the temple, the old temple. So we went behind and interacted, went deep underground, the old temple. There's a lot of excavation around there, and we were able to go and see a lot. We had a lot of sightseeing when it came to the old temple, and then we came back and went back to the front of the old temple. On the steps of opening, we took some photos and had some great teachings and everything. And that was, I think, our close for that particular day. Then the next day we started joining in the morning. And then that morning took us to the Via della Rosa. That means the road to the cross. We had to do the Via della Rosa. The Via della Rosa started, the different stations of the cross. When Jesus was on his way to the cross, the different things that happened. Everyone who goes to Israel and you really want to have a great experience, you have to, especially if you want to do a biblical tour, because people go to Israel for different. Some people go on a tour, just ordinary tour. Some people go on a historical tour. Some people go on a military expedition. Different things. But for us, we went on biblical and historical and traditional. So we are exposed to almost everything. Every different thing, whether how Israel fought their wars and different things. It was supposed to, but we were involved also with the biblical issues, so we're more concerned about biblical sites and everything else. So we did a Via della Rosa, the different stations of the cross, and went as far as where it is assumed that Jesus was crucified. There's two different accounts there, but then we after that, then we went over to where Jesus was, where he was buried, the tomb he was buried in. So we then went down to a tomb that is the garden tomb. All right, we went to the garden tomb and we had a service at the garden tomb, and it was a great experience. And people went into this tomb and came out. There's certain strange that were happening. Every time someone went into the tomb and they came out of the tomb, guess what? There was just this presence that just filled the place. I'm telling you, I'm not making a story. There was just this glory that just filled the place. People were screaming on the anointing. It was not excitement, because I walk with God for years, and I know when the presence of God show up in a given way. So when you have spiritual people who are really walking with God, understand something. So it depends how you want to go to Israel. You can go to Israel and just have a sightseeing. You can go to Israel and have an encounter. And so we had that experience. And then right there is also assumed that that was where Jesus was crucified. There's a hill there. Assumed that indeed that is that's where he was crucified. But the reality is that Jesus was crucified and he was buried, and then he rose from the dead. Those are a set established truth, And then we got through that from there, from the tomb, the garden tomb. Then we went to the Jerusalem Prayer Center. There's a place established in the 1800s that had been set aside strictly for praying for the salvation of Israel, praying for revival in the Middle East and everything else. These group of people have given their life to prayer. We went there. There you go, and sometimes you do donations. You also have a special time of praying there. And guess what? God really answers prayers there. I'll tell you some of the prayers I pray in that place. God answered my prayers. Something. And people even get healed. Like one lady who was with us, she had gone there. She'd been having a complication for so many years. Right on the ground. We did not even leave the ground. Bam! The lady received a healing. Right there. We just came out of prayer, because when you get there, each one go into the separate corner, and find a place to pray. Just before we left the place, she had an encounter. The Lord touched her right in that particular place. I even took some photos with the directors of the prayer center, and then we came out, and then we came back. Then we got ready to go to Bethlehem. Going to Bethlehem is an experience all by itself, because Bethlehem is in Palestinian territory. So going there is always like you have to brace yourself. They're gonna give you all the counsel. You can do this, you can do that. You have to be careful. You have to be this, you have to be that. And we braced ourselves and got ready to go for go to Bethlehem. And then we went to Bethlehem, and there are Christians there. And I want to encourage us to let's keep praying for the believers, the few believers that are left among those people who are still pursuing the work of God, who are still championing the cause of Christianity in the midst of those challenging areas. There are Christians there. They have this setup where they sell materials. They have different Christian carvings and different things that they sell, and that's how they benefit, and they are able to to keep their business going and keep their life ahead. I just forgot their name, but we were able to go. We went to the where Jesus was born. There's a Catholic church there. There are two churches right in there. You have the Eastern Orthodox Church, you have the Armenian Church, and you have the Roman Catholic Church, all in one day. And then we had an experience with where Jesus was born. Then when we left the birthplace of Jesus, then we went to the Shepherd's Field. The Shepherd's Field is where it is believed from scriptures that the angels appeared to the shepherds and told them, say, born this day in the city of Bethlehem is the king, and showed them where the king was. And when to find. So we went to the Shepherd's Field. We also had a service there in the Catholic Church, and also had a service outside. So we had an interaction. We met. There was this guy who was he's a Palestinian, but he's a Christian. He took us on a particular tour. It was an awesome. I mean, he's versed in the scripture and versed in the different information as it relates to Christianity and everything else. So it was a great experience there. It was a wonderful experience in Bethlehem. Usually we don't stay too long in Bethlehem because you never know when people swap. And so we were able to leave Bethlehem, and then we drove back, and then we went back to our hotel, right? And then the next day, another journey began. We had to go back again, and this time we went to the St. Peter's of Golgotha. That is where it is assumed that when Jesus was after he was arrested, the different place he had to be taken, and he had to be questioned and everything else. And we did a tour of that particular place, and then we spent some time there, and then we came down, and then we went we went to, then we had to go to Jericho. Yeah, we had to go to Jericho. Oh yeah, I still remember we had to go to Jericho. Going to Jericho is another experience all by itself. It's a tough spot. Yeah, go to Jericho. And not Jericho. Yeah, we had to go downtown Jerusalem. It's an awesome experience there, and there, everywhere you have people who are, who do one or two things, and so we had to be, everybody telling you have to be careful you go. Not everyone there is a believer, and so we had that awesome experience toward the entire city. We had the time to go out to purchase our own things, and then it was time for us to start gathering to leave. But the tour had been a very awesome time. It had been a great experience. God had greatly, given our information and blessed our time together. And one good thing that happened over there was that our team, African Christian United for Israel, as we went for our tour is always an exciting time, because every morning, everybody, get themselves prepared in the morning before person and spend time in prayer, go down for breakfast. But then every evening when we return, we have a special time of service. We have a time of prayer. It's a time of talking about the tour for the day. It's a time of praying for the trip, praying for different needs and everything. And so it's more than just a sightseeing. Like I say, it's more of an encounter, and that's why I would love that if you intend making a trip to Israel, you really do it, because especially along with United for Israel, because is more than just a regular vacation or sightseeing. It's an encounter. Her mother was a 72-year-old mom. We had heart surgery, and before she even went up there, and people were like, she won't be able to climb most of the mountains, she won't be able to go some of the hills, she won't be able to do some of the tours or something. And guess what? This woman went everywhere. She had the ability to go everywhere. She went everywhere. She climbed all the different hills, and people were like, what? And our testimony was that when I was coming, people advised me and said I shouldn't come because we had to do a lot of walking. Now here I came, and I'm able to do all the walking, follow things everywhere, go everywhere I was supposed to go, interface with everything I was also interface with. And today I can testify that I can say God has healed me and God has restored my health completely, because climbing all the hills and going to all these different places has been a great and awesome experience, And I can share with you that I like to talk about Eris and talk about our driver. Oh, I just forgot his name. But these are excellent guys. They are friendly, very open, and they really served us. Even there were things that indeed that were not even on our tour list that they gave us the opportunity to have experience with. That how great they were. And this, I never get. I've been to Israel twice, and I never get tired going back, because every time you go back, you interface and interact, you see something new, you experience something different, and you see things from a different perspective, and all these kind of things. And there are some things, I love out in my beginning. I remember when we took off after we left Caesarea Philippi on our way to Mount Carmel, we came across the Druze. The Druze, the city of the Druze. The Druze are a group of people who live in Israel. They are not Jewish, but they are Druze, called Druze. But they serve in the army of Israel. They are lawyer, and we came across that something. And for them, they are special people, they are just special people. We interacted with them, and we're able to stop them, buy some things from their cities and everything. Because Israel is a place of, they come on a different culture, Druze, Jews, Palestinian, and just everything, so it's a combination of all these different people. And so I want to bless God, but I can let you know that indeed the tour was awesome, starting from the airport, to Netanya, to Caesarea Philippi, doing a tour of all the different things in Caesarea Philippi, the Colosseum, the sea where Herod built his fortress in the sea. He built this special water, something in the sea, and it's not seawater, fresh water place almost towards the sea. And you see the left behind the Byzantine Empire, the Ottoman Empire, all these different things that after the Israel had a part of Israel history. So you see the different remains at the end of the day, and then from Campbell, Nazareth, to Tiberias, the whole Galilee, touring the entire Galilee, seeing all the different places and everything where Jesus walked, the place, the Jordan, and then going down to Jericho, to Masada, the Dead Sea, and then on to Jerusalem, and then from Jerusalem onto Jerusalem onto this place, onto Bethlehem, and then all the different experiences we had. And then finally it was time for us to go. We had to get back to the airport, and that morning it was a time of joy, it was a time of sadness. The people you have gotten used to for many, pretty close to almost 2 weeks. Everybody was departing, now you have made new friends. But it was an awesome experience. I can tell you that I look back to going back to Israel every year. In the last 2 years I haven't been there, but I trust that we can be going soon, very soon. This entire process is over, that we can be able to partake and have an encounter. I made up my mind I want to go to Israel every year to have this encounter, to be a time of interacting, interface with the grace and the power of God. So I want to encourage you today and let you know that indeed Israel is not just an ordinary place. Israel, yes, a nation, but it's God's nation. And the history of Israel has to exist, because if the history of Israel does not exist, it means that I like to say to Christians, our heritage as Christians, what do we have as our bag? What do we have to authenticate that this faith is genuine? They are a custodian. That's why I feel bad for Christians who don't understand why the Jewish people, they may not convert to us. We trust that indeed they get converted, they get saved, they come to the knowledge of Christ. But guess what? Even if they don't, they are a custodian of our faith. That's the reason why we must promote the issue of Israel, because number one, they are a custodian of our faith. Their existence authenticates our faith. Because I had a good time to go to the Hebrew Museum, and in the museum, almost everything, the Dead Sea Scroll, everything about your Bible, about the Bible is there. Different information, after I left, all these things are available. How do we know it's true? Because there are some people who say the issue of the Bible is a myth. The issue of the Bible is not this. It's these historical facts. Two, they are God's people. Throughout the scripture, God referred to these people. He used them. Our salvation came on the platform of a relationship with them. And so even Paul acknowledges in Romans that indeed they're going to be saved. How? Paul doesn't tell us, but we know that indeed when God says the thing and inspires people, it works out at the end of the day. And so I want to encourage us. We had to be leaving, and we had to depart Israel, and we returned, and it was an awesome time. I'd like to be grateful to Reverend Dr. Tabla, Zelda, and all the different team of ministers and everybody else. Even my own pastor, Reverend Mother Town, who supported. I look forward to her going soon. Very soon, by the time this is over, so that it can be an awesome experience. And many of our members of our churches and our version also those of you who are watching this documentary, I look forward to you, being a part of this process and seeing God's will and purpose being fulfilled. Thank you.